welcome to Insight of New England's Therapeutic Talk. Please like, subscribe, and comment
Today
below.
we stand in support for Veronica T. DeLandro. This is a press conference that took place this week.
That affect and influence our community. We're often told when we pursue opportunities of public service that we need to wait, that it's not our time, or just flat out no. And from personal experience, I attribute this to lack of diversity and inclusion. So I'm going to take you a little trip down the memory lane in terms of how we got here. In November, I submitted my name for consideration to fill the vacancy on the Common Council after being encouraged to do so by the departing alderman, the now state representative Manny Sanchez, along with support of the Democratic Party, Democratic leaders, and those in the community who spoke out in support of me filling the seat and believed in my ideas and commitment to advocating for the people of New Britain and would serve a community well. Now, I have ran for city council before in 2017, and while I didn't win, I was appointed by all 15 members of the council to serve as clerk of committees. My commitment to serve New Britain, even after losing the council seat in 2017, never deterred me from serving my community. Now here we are, so fast forward to December, during the December 9th Common Council meeting, the majority leader, who you've heard before refer to himself as the gatekeeper, created this process, and it became clear to me that he remains committed to his own self-serving agenda, and in his pursuit is willing to suppress the voices of residents in New Britain. Instead of listening to our community, the alderman has spent an excruciating amount of time creating and establishing a newfound bias process that is not noted in the city's charter, nor is it consistent with the way in which a vacant Democrat seat on the Board of Ed was recently filled just back in October. Our leaders, from the mayor down, must demand a culture of respect and inclusion. Our leadership in New Britain should and must reflect the diverse demographics of New Britain. All members of the community need to feel that they are represented quickly. If you were to include the Hispanic, in terms of the demographics of our city, if you were to include both the Hispanic and Black population just in New Britain alone, it represents more than 50% of the population, while the white population in our city is just over 40%. Yet and still, the makeup of this council, with 15 members, consists of 8 white people. After tonight's vote, will include 8 white people, 7 white men, and only 2 women. So to the residents of New Britain, know that I remain steadfast in my optimism and our ability to overcome obstacles. We will not be dismayed, disheartened, or disillusioned by any political games or sideshows you have seen on full display by the majority leader and Republicans of the Common Council. Instead, we will move forward with fortitude. I believe fully in our collective power, and I thank you for leading the charge on who you feel should have a seat at your table, because the Common Council is to represent all people in this city.
Amen.
This
Amen.
is your table.
That's right.
And despite the decision of the council tonight, we will move forward and onward. Thank you. Veronica DeLandro, Veronica, DE, capital L, ANDRO. Any questions?
Are there any specific improprieties at all? I mean, or is everything going, this charter or anything else? I mean, is there any specific improprieties?
So the charter, the way that this is a way of going about it where what happened is that the way city charter is in New Britain, when a Democrat or a Republican steps down, it must be filled by the Democrat or Republican. They must be a registered voter. They must be a resident and over 18. And so what has happened is that because the majority leader is a registered Democrat, he is taking away the voice of the Democratic Party to himself select who he wants to fill that seat. But the problem is he ran as a Republican, he was endorsed as a Republican, and he won and ran as a Republican, and therefore he is a Republican. He in that seat, in that chamber, when he goes into that chamber, he is a Republican. He can put the D next to his name all he wants to, but at the end of the day, he is representing the voice. He's voting as a Republican. The Columbus statute is a perfect example. The Civilian Review Board that died in the committee is another example of ways in which he is using his so-called power as majority leader to push forth agenda, and what they're doing now is using this as an opportunity to grow their voting base. So instead of it being an 8-7, with the Republicans having the majority, it'll now be 9-6, even though this person is a registered Democrat, but who's to say that he won't side and vote with the Republicans?
So are there any legal actions that you guys are taking or anything? I mean, or is this just...
I am not.
In the community, the NAACP of New Britain is planning on doing a CHRO complaint and have them look into the discrimination, and maybe there's some other action after that, but that's what's planned thus far, a CHRO complaint.
What are you guys planning for tonight's meeting? Just gonna call in
Yes, so tonight, the people of New Britain can call in. They can call in any city council meeting at 7 o'clock. Be sure to call in beforehand so there's no challenges or issues. And just express their voices and concerns. They have before on other issues. They've been ignored. So I don't expect anything to change tonight, but at least it will go on record. And it will be noted that those who called in near and far have expressed their support for me, as they did in last month's meeting. That was over 2.5 hours. So we just want people, if you can, if those who weren't able to come out tonight, to call in tonight and to say, this wasn't right. There was no official process. There was a process that was made up to avoid me being put on the council. Simply stated.
Have you talked to the majority leader or the mayor or anything about the whole thing?
I have no, I have not. I have asked questions. I have emailed and asked questions about the process. I did not receive answers. I was told to defer to the charter, and I said the charter does not answer the questions that I have about the process. How are you assessing the people? How are you notifying the public about who will be, who the 5 candidates are? The public didn't know.
No.
Only council members knew who the 5 candidates were. This wasn't even made public. And so now tonight there's all of a sudden a candidate that comes out of the sky that they're going to vote on, but the public never knew about the process. They knew you put forth a come one, come all, anyone and everyone apply, and then the communication stops. So then what happens? What are the next steps? How are you going to pick between 5 people in terms of who should? And even with the Democrats on the council, they were not brought into the conversation. It was a decision solely based on the Republicans, because, as they said, they have the numbers.
So, Ms. DeLandro, what are you going to do now? You're just going to go away and...
Well, I'm not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere?
I'm not going anywhere. They will hear me tonight on the call. They will hear me at the next council meeting. I will call into every council meeting,
Good.
voicing my care and concern as a tax-paying resident, as I have this, and continue to call it out, whether good or bad or indifferent.
Yeah.
And then the people in November will decide who will be seated.
That's right.
Because everyone's seat is not safe. Let's be absolutely clear.
right.
Do not assume that because you've won over and over again that your seat is safe. It is not.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
I want everybody to watch very, very carefully, because an individual that is on the City Council of New Britain is going to step up and really show us how individuals try to use their white privilege and white male privilege to be pacific.
You could say explain it.
Sure. I'm Alderman Danny Salerno. I am the majority leader of the council.
Oh, okay.
If you have any questions, rather than throw us on defenses, so it's entirely up to you what questions you may have of this.
Let me talk to you about, the issue at hand. Here's the process. What can you respond?
Sure. Yeah, no. If you have any specifics or general questions, you always can those as well. As the majority leader, it has a caucus. The Red Caucus is a Republican, unaffiliated. There is. Are we going to be interrupted? It's all one now. Yeah. The majority of people who are on the council who will vote for the replacement for that individual will take place at the end of this meeting. Any other questions? I'll be glad to.
He wants the Columbus statue to remain here in New Britain.
Well, again, that's the assumption everybody makes about policy in the city of Britain or anywhere else. And we're seeing this at the national level quite a bit. But it's always based on party affiliation. Well, policy is about what is best for all the people in the cities of Britain.
Then serve the people.
From that standpoint, we certainly believe that when we call our case in point, we've got a member of our record.
Serve the people. If it's for the people.
The issue regarding the Columbus statue, as an example, we don't make the choices based on our party affiliation. I'm a registered Democrat. I've been a registered Democrat. I've already been some of these people have been alive.
So I am talking to people while everybody's yelling and screaming at this guy because he's lying. He's been very mean, to a lot of people, and I'm offering some people some stress balls.
To the people.
I'm only dealing with the press.
How can it be for the people if you're dealing with the press only?
So what we just witnessed right there was an individual on the chair just basically get up and use his privilege to try to speak in the middle of Veronica T. DeLandro's press conference. He did not call for the press to come to this conference. He was not invited. He just simply got up there and thought that he was going to take over. And I'm really happy that the people were there and the people spoke out and let him know that, what he was saying were lies and that they're not happy with him. He has been very rude and disrespectful to many of the residents here in New Britain, including myself. Rose his voice at me over the summer, trying to tell me what I can and cannot do. And I told him that, first of all, I'm not really sure who he is speaking to. And second of all, I don't know why you're raising your voice at me because you are not my father. So I'm not really sure why he thinks that he can continue to be disrespectful and disregard people's rights as residents here in New Britain, taxpayers, people who are paying taxes, people who are residents here, just blatantly disrespecting people as human beings, as far as I'm concerned, and get up there and try to say that he is a Democrat, as if that matters. It does not matter if you're Democrat or Republican. You're not a very nice man, and people are not liking the way that you're treating people.
There is a lot of racism that is happening nationwide. Our country is just a disaster, right? We are trying to heal locally here in New Britain. And it's very concerning to me personally. If we can't heal locally here in New Britain, how are we going to heal as a nation? There's just so much racism here, and we are calling it out. We are trying to address it. And we know that in November, when we are electing new officials, that change is going to have to come. We are going to stand strong, we are going to stand together, and we are going to stand united.
There's so many things to say before I turn and walk away. If you don't see me again, if you don't see me again, nah, 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 nah. I say just remember.